first recordings of Climate is Hiring, and I'm going to walk through a couple of things. I'm going to walk through the spreadsheet that we've created and shared with our subscribers, and also give an example on how I would go through these kind of stages that we define here: exploration, qualification, commitment, and application for a company at random. Kind of we work on this, but just to show how you can maybe look for opportunities or increase the surface of luck when it comes to finding jobs. This is specifically targeted those who might already be, in the workforce for a while, but they're transitioning either companies or roles or trying how to make their role more climate oriented. So I'm going to quickly dive into it. I'm based in Sydney, Australia at the moment, and I'm aware of a couple platforms and spaces that kind of list a lot of climate-oriented companies, and one of those is actually Climate Salad. So I'm going to start by deep diving into Climate Salad and see what I can find. So they have a kind of really simple, of course, a lot of data is lacking in this directory, but regardless, is a really cool place to kind of skim through companies. There's no filtering in this kind of, I believe, free version, but regardless is a good place to keep an eye out and just see where companies are at. Of course, it's not comprehensive at all, but regardless is a good source of information. Into the next videos, I'll kind of go through places where you can find more companies. So quick skim through this. Of course, there's no really categories. There's just kind of remove emissions, reduce emissions, adaptation, but doesn't specify if it's like a tech company or a hardware company or a finance company. So you'll have to go through each individual one and click, but you might recognize some of the logos and you can go through that. So let's go and go to the next page. You can see here. And let's stop at Outlier. I believe they're focusing, of course, in heavy research. So a lot of people might not be researchers, but let's deep dive to see if we can find an alternative to engage this company and maybe become aware of new opportunities. So clicking through here, its focus is on circular eco-waste, B2B. So let's jump into the website and see what's in there. Very neat branding on the website. And I'm also going to take the chance and actually copy this website link and put it in the template. So there you go. And I'll let it here. Back into the company. The website is just a landing page. It doesn't really say much. So if we're just kind of stopping, he'll be stuck. There's clearly not job opportunities. There's no extra information on how they're doing, regenerative plans into letter alternatives. But let's go onto LinkedIn and see what we can find. So I'm just going to copy this and go LinkedIn. And there you go. So let's first look into the size of the company and also copy this information into the spreadsheet. Company LinkedIn done. And see what we can find out. So we know the focus is very on the research side. We can see it's into the fashion as well. So if I was already maybe not working in climate, but working at a fashion company or ever touched on e-commerce, there are potentially some connection points that I can kind of discuss and reach out with. But let's go into the updates. So last update was 3 months ago. They exhibited at Climate Tech Showcase in 2024. So that's fantastic. So if you've been to there, you maybe have some touch points on similar companies that you've seen or other research-heavy companies. You can also see that they were part of the RISE Accelerator. So you can click into these and see who commented on this. Let's deep dive. There you go. And you can start seeing some likes, some people that are following this company. Let's go into the first post as well. and you can start seeing maybe potential connections that you'll have into this company. Now, what I'm going to do is actually research the team. I go into people inside LinkedIn. Can see that it's a very small company and appears to be very research heavy. Okay, but let's continue the research. Let's go into the founder. All right, so the founder is a bit more active. Tina is a bit more active on LinkedIn, which gives you more chance to see similar connections. So I'm going to open this in a new tab. Let's continue the deep dive. Okay, they've been on a panel. Other people here that have been mentioned, so you could connect individually with these people here and reach out and ask for introduction. We can also see that there's some active comments in here. So, for example, Charlotte is very active in the climate tech community. So if you, by any chance, have been connected with her, will be a nice person to ask for introduction. Of course, Charlotte is very busy, but you can still give it a try. Vivid is also everywhere. Amazing podcast, the High Flyers podcast, very active and normally very kind of speedy to respond. So another good try as well. But you might see, well, if I'm not a researcher, how I'm going to deep dive into this? If we go into Tina's profile, you might see that she's actually the founder of another company and part-time, and it creates luxury handbags and accessories of plant-based material. And this is actually an e-commerce business that appears to still be operational and with stock, which means there's maybe not a direct connection into the research side of things, but maybe you can apply your learnings and your skill set into either operations, e-commerce, marketing, paid ads into the e-commerce arm of the company. So let's see if I can actually go online. And you can see there's definitely stock being sold. So it appears to be active. You can reach out then, hey, do you need a hand with Life on Mars or the Athleta company? Potentially these are being like funding each other. You have to deep dive into learning how they're like operating. Maybe they're completely disconnected, but regardless, now you've seen like a very forward-thinking founder who's doing a lot of research, but on the side also has a very interesting e-commerce brand here. And you could like now get proximity into the research-heavy company by supporting the e-commerce arm in this sense. Another good thing to do is understand if the company has raised lately. So back into here, maybe we can find outlet news. There you go. They've actually raised, and the announcement here is on the 29th of Jan. Maybe the investment was made, a few months earlier. So they might be looking into scaling their research team, or actually have a few prototypes, and they're looking into more business development opportunities, or maybe commercial pilots with certain retailers. So also a good way to reach out and try to understand where are these funds being deployed. So now we have a couple of things to go back into the spreadsheet. Why do you like this company? It's up to you, but I can say, it's female founder, recently raised. They have excellent branding. And of course, the value prop is really interesting, especially the research heavy side. The name of the direct connection, it could be the founder itself. If you want to reach out, maybe she's really busy, but it could be someone in the climate style community, someone who's actually liking or commenting on those posts, which kind of shows proximity to the founder or the company itself. And you can write this down here. So if I actually went to those posts and see what I can find out. See here, anyone in this post, check if you already have a connection with. And of course, any of the people who are like actively commenting and liking here could be a good example. The other one is, of course, Cicada Innovations. You might know someone there. I might be into an event. They're very active on events. You could actually reach out to someone in Cicada to introduce you If everything else fails, you can actually go to Tina, and the kind of message that I would send would be something like this. Would be something, oh, sorry, you have to actually connect. And I would add a note and say, hey, Tina, love your work. Do you need any help with Life on Mars or Alt Leather? I'm looking for opportunities and would love to connect. Let's say now I have experience in operations, lots of experience in operations. So maybe Tina is trying to kind of offload some of the work in Life on Mars into another operator so she can focus more on alt letter, and it might be a good chance to actually take a role. Maybe it's a part-time role, and so forth. Once that has been sent, I would actually go back into my spreadsheets and have a look about what can I add here. So, of course, from there, it's Tina is actually a direct connection in a sense. Of course, I can request it's a second degree connection. I don't follow her or I'm not connected with her just yet, but I can actually send a reach out, and the odds of Tina accepting the invite are high. If it doesn't work, of course, we have this people who can introduce us. Charlotte is one, of course. She's very well connected, and once you connect with her, you kind of get 1 degree distance with a lot of founders and company owners in this space. Vidit is also a very well connected person. They're both very busy people, but then you can start coming down from that and maybe reach out to actually Cicada Innovations and anyone in there. A lot of there's a most likely community person in there who can facilitate the introduction as well. We're very involved in supporting deep tech companies. One thing you can also do is actually look at the articles and see who the journalist is. Of course, journalists are very busy, however, always worth a chance. And of course, sending these requests don't take that long, and all of these could be hyperlinks to facilitate how you do this later, or you do it as you go and as you fill in this exploration section of the spreadsheet. And we can jump into other articles as well and just see if there's different writers or they're just kind of like copying the original article. Here we have as well. You can come back to this. Nick is another good example, and I would just add maybe Nick here as well. The other thing you can do is look into Life on Mars itself and see if what is the working team behind Life on Mars and see what they're doing. Potentially maybe like an ops person or someone helping with marketing of the website and so forth that you can reach out. And now let's dive into the qualifications. Of course, we haven't met with someone at the company. Personally, I haven't. And I'm not quite sure if they are hiring in the next 6 months. So I'm going to say it's very likely. Either they just raised a few months ago, or beginning of this year, so potentially they're still hiring or they've completed all their hiring, but that's what you're trying to find out in that first introduction. And the growth strategy, they might be going heavy into research, so staying with research heavy roles. Maybe they're actually looking for grant support because it's just like a deep tech company and there's so much focus on circular economy and the textile and the fashion industry. They might be looking to keep on expanding the e-commerce arm. So potentially there's something there also in operations. And you might look that they might be trialing some pilots with retailers or doing capsules or small collections for fashion brands. So maybe, business development in itself, or they're allocating some of that budget into community building, getting people to get behind and being those first buyers of the first collection. So this is, of course, just ideas. You'll have to figure out as you speak with these people where they are in the journey. I don't believe that they have a company newsletter, but what you can do, and I think I've already done that or shown, this is a re-recording, please actually go to Tina profile and actually click here on this little bell and make sure that you either put all or most relevant. to get notified once Tina posts, as she is more active. The other thing you can do is, of course, look at, I'll put it here now, following founder, looking at industry newsletters. What is happening? What is, Australian body of circular fashion? See if there's one. Okay, Australian Fashion Council. Maybe subscribe to that newsletter itself. It's a great idea, as you'll kind of keep track of what is happening. Specific project started. What do I mean by this? If you actually find out there is some interest and you manage to get the introduction, this is the area where you maybe have done a small deep dive into this problem specifically, the problem of using waste and plans to create this alternative leather, or maybe you have did a case study into companies overseas. So a good example is, let's say, Alt Leather company Europe, and you might look at, let's say, let's actually this is, let's go example of maybe vegan leather company in Europe, and look at what they're happening, pilots, and deep dive into what is happening into companies overseas, how they've traveled, what are they doing, have they successfully launched, are they in the market, and trying to understand how you can bring that knowledge into your conversations and find out what the strategy is happening in the future. That's it for all. Of course, I wouldn't make this as like an application, but I'll definitely keep track of the follow-up dates and the status, meaning that, for example, a founder accepted to meet. Or if you don't, that doesn't happen very soon, it might be, second introduction asked. It might be through someone else. So this is a very good example. And just one last thing, in the future, and we can come back to this, might not be a rejection, but you might find out that company is not hiring or not a fit. After you've done this research, and this has taken about 10 minutes, you might come back here to explain why you like this company, and you actually find out that by looking at the Fashion Council and deep diving into some of the articles, it's a big problem, promising solution, and good backups. So external validation. I hope that helps, gives you a good example. What we found out, alternative arms of the same company, a very experienced founder, not only research heavy, but also with an e-commerce arm, potentially opportunities to start helping there before you go into, the company is just raised. But overall, we've already kind of deep dive into the rabbit hole of alternative leather. You find out about Australian Fashion Council, and you now potentially have introductions or connections with people who are very well connected, which will facilitate LinkedIn requests in the future. Hope that helps, and see you next time.